all this talking tough and I'm a strong independent goes out the window when you are dealing with a monster. You know who knows how to deal with a monster? Someone like Donald Trump. Not you, because you think that you're threatened by the United States nukes. What do you think, we're going to nuke Canada? I tell you what, though, it's not as dumb as an entire country of people, Canada. So, it's okay. I can say it because I'm half Canadian. I was raised there, to be clear. I was born in the States. My mom is French Canadian. I was raised there. And I know a lot of you are thinking, hey, do you have, like, is there any part of you that's proud of being Canadian? No. No. Not even a little bit. There's no part of me that is proud
that's awesome.
to be half a nation that keeps the Queen on its money.
I mean, it's hard to reprint money, I guess.
I guess at that point. So, and we've talked about this and we've joked about Canada, but seriously, Canada shouldn't exist. I mean that. Canada really shouldn't exist as a country. It's a disreputable place. It's a place right now that has become unworthy of respect. And I think that there needs to be some reform, namely a 51st state. So yesterday, and I watched all of this from pillar to post. That's maybe also why I didn't sleep. This happened last night. Former Justin Trudeau lieutenant, her name is Chrystia Freeland. It's kind of like a primary in Canada for those seeking control of the Liberal Party when Trudeau steps down. And so we're going to show you some clips, and some of it is surprisingly alarming. But again, this lady seems like she's the front runner because she worked with Trudeau. Here's an introduction. I'm sorry, right clip. Here's the other clip.
And welcome to special coverage of tonight's Liberal leadership debate. I'm David Cochrane in Ottawa, and in just 15 minutes, candidates vying to become Liberal leader and very likely Canada's next Prime Minister will face off in the second and final debate. There are four candidates: Frank Bayless, Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, and Karina Gould. They are set to take the stage in Montreal. Tonight, they debate in English. Last night, they debated in French.
What we will see, though, is because they're all speaking in their mother tongue in English, we'll see much more comfortable people, much more confident people, and people that can speak really, powerfully about their policy ideas. So I think that's a given. It will be a better debate.
Now, remember, this lady who seems she's poised to seize control of the Liberal Party there in Canada, Freeland, in 2022, gleefully doubled down on freezing the truckers, the protesters' bank accounts. Here's what authoritarianism looks like.
Okay, so my follow-up is in two parts then. So you're confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not releasing the information?
The names of both individuals and entities, as well as crypto wallets, have been shared by the RCMP with financial institutions. And accounts have been frozen, and more accounts will be frozen.
How was this not revolution in Canada?
It's a subservient people. It's a submissive, subservient
because
people.
You were protesting. You froze bank accounts. You got rid of GoFundMe accounts, and you went after crypto wallets. Yeah. The one thing that's supposed to be independent of all of this.
Hey, you don't like that the United States is a nation of guns? That's why.
Yep.
If you're not a nation of guns, you become a nation where the government brags about freezing your accounts and assets for the wrong opinion. And you don't even need to go to Venezuela.
You parked your truck somewhere and they're like, well, guess you're not going to eat.
And in watching this, it really was emblematic of kind of the rest of the world and the tariffs and where we find ourselves as Americans. It was a bunch of Canadians trying to justify the existence of a country that would never exist at any point in history if not for the United States. And it made me, if anything, emboldened. It undergirded the idea that the United States not only doesn't need Canada, but until Canada starts sharing our values and until they start taking our best interests into consideration, Canada needs to be punished, and not just because they borderline threatened to use nukes. It's time for No Canada. All right. Here's the first claim you heard in this debate.
Dismissive.
That President Trump, this is what they're saying in Canada, is Canada's greatest challenge.
A few weeks ago in Saskatoon, I met a 4-year-old girl named Ari. She asked me, can you stop Trump from invading Canada? Ari
from
is a
invading
smart
Canada.
girl, and she's asking the right question.
You can't.
I'm running
wrote it
to
for
be
her.
leader of the Liberal Party and the next Prime Minister of Canada because Trump is posing the gravest challenge our country has faced since the Second World War.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, she's a feminist who deals in hyperbole. That statement, by the way, was made immediately before she was backhanded by a red-pilled moose. And that was,
Tate traveled quickly.
Yeah. I love Tate Moose. Here's the truth, okay? Canada has had way graver challenges than Donald Trump. And I want you to just take a bird's eye view here. So since World War II, right, you had the Quebec separatist crisis, you had the biker wars that took place in the 1990s,
Sounds
you had
kinda
the
cool.
terror bombing that had taken place, I believe, in somewhere in the 1980s, also not winning any Stanley Cup since 1993. But more importantly, the gravest challenges that Canada has faced, that's since World War II, but you can include World War II, you can include any global conflict. As a matter of fact, any global conflict, shortage, pandemic, catastrophe, or emergency is an extinction-level threat for Canada every single time, if not for the United States. That's your gravest challenge, Canada. Historians will look back on Canada and they'll say, well, how did this exist?
Yeah.
Top one or two biggest countries as far as landmass and no way to defend it? They must not have had any desirable resources, right? Oh, they did? Rich in natural resources? What? How close in proximity to, if Russia came across, the United States. Oh, that makes sense. Nowhere else would a nation like Canada still exist. It would be conquered and they would be speaking, whatever. It could be, take the Mongols, take the Ottomans, but they should be speaking American. They still speak French. That's where it's silly. It's a goofy, silly place. And by the way, now Canada, even today, is still facing far worse challenges than Donald Trump, but they believe their job is virtue signaling. The real challenges that Canada faces, okay? A tanking economy. Canada would be the fourth poorest state in the United States.
Jeez.
They have a housing crisis. Canada is short by about 3.5 million housing units.
Ooh.
Their population is a tenth the size of the United States.
Yeah.
They have an immigration disaster, despite what they will tell you. Even Trudeau, Prime Minister Trudeau, had to reverse course because of how bad immigration has become. I'm sorry, right clip. Here's the other one.
Immigration. Let's talk about it. In the last 2 years, our population has grown really fast, like baby boom fast. And increasingly, bad actors like fake colleges and big chain corporations have been exploiting our immigration system for their own interests. So we're doing something major. We're reducing the numbers of immigrants that will come to Canada for the next 3 years. Today, I'm going to let you in on what happened, where we made some mistakes,
Okay, pal.
and why we're taking this big turn.
How many takes do you think they had to do because he kept saying, I'm going to let you in on me?
Oh, at least 3.
We just have to admonish you. Actually, that's not former prime minister. It's a governor.
Oh,
This
sorry, yes,
comes directly
that's
from
true.
the White House, and so,
Yes.
so we have to respect the office.
Sorry, respect the office. You can admonish me.
Yes.
And he's not
Governor
That's
Trudeau.
right. He is not former. Well, he's the former leader of the Liberal Party.
Governor.
It's a transition period. Okay, fine.
Governor Trudeau.
Fine. I'll take it. So Canada faces many grave dangers, many grave challenges, namely all of them if they don't have the help of the United States. And they face far worse internal crises right now. Why is that not the focus? Because the left, just like Amy Klobuchar listing her 5 accomplished tasks last week, including standing up to Russia, they believe their profession is largely centered around virtue signaling. And their virtue signaling is largely centered around hating you. Got it? They're evil. Here's another claim that certainly sounded alarm bells for me, that Canada will form a nuclear-powered alliance specifically to counter the United States. Doesn't sound like a good neighbor.
What is different about this unleashed and empowered President Trump is he is clearly threatening our sovereignty.
You have no
and
sovereignty.
We need to respond. And so what Canada needs to do is work closely with our democratic allies, our military allies.
And be someone
I've
else.
been foreign minister. I know how to do that. That's why I would start with our Nordic partners, specifically Denmark, which is also being threatened, and our European NATO allies. I would be sure that France and Britain were there, who possess nuclear weapons, and I would be working urgently with those partners to build a closer security relationship that guarantees our security in a time when the United States can be a threat.
Them sounds like fighting words to me.
Sounds like a single mom looking for a new baby daddy.
Yeah, exactly. That the United States.
Stepdad.
By the way, this is the problem with feminism permeates everything. Do you have any idea how far into her phrase she would have begun before Genghis Khan would have raped her? Do you understand this? Like, people go up there and talk tough from a country, by the way, that has no nukes. Do you have any idea what it's like to deal with barbarian? And by the way, not pro-rape. What I'm saying is, have you looked at actual empires? You know, the kinds of nations that the United States isn't, who would look at your country as nothing more than an opportunity. All this talking tough, and I'm a strong, independent, goes out the window when you are dealing with a monster. You know who knows how to deal with a monster? Someone like Donald Trump. Not you, because you think that you're threatened by the United States nukes. What do you think, we're going to nuke Canada? Here's the truth. It wouldn't work anyway, sweetheart. The United States military would outmatch all of the countries that you mentioned combined. Let's look at just the number of nukes to start. The United States has well over 5,200. France, the next closest on the list of the countries she meant, 290. UK, 225. She mentioned Denmark, 0. And they want to ally with Canada, also 0.
By the way, you're trying to turn one of our friends against us with the UK?
Yeah.
It's one of our strongest allies?
Let's look at the next important piece. Aircraft carriers. The United States has 11. UK, 2. France, distant third, 1. Denmark, again, 0. Canada, again, 0.
Oh, they got some snowmobiles, though.
Yeah, Denmark.
That's good for something.
I don't know if these people in Canada believe it. But even if they did, hey, there's nothing you can do. Let's look at the active military personnel. The United States, 1.3 million people. France, next on that, 380,000. UK, 148,000. Denmark, 16,000.
Wait, what?
Canada, 107,000. 107,000. So let me do some math. This is why I say Canada is a very silly place. And I know a lot of you may be Canadian right now. Sound up. This is not insulting you, the Canadian citizen. It is your government. But yeah, you know what? You need to do something about your country. We had a revolution. You keep the Queen on your money. Canada has no sovereignty. You have the Queen on your money because you didn't have the revolution that we did. And you exist because we allow you to exist. Okay? Let's look at the number of troops right there, right? I just gave it to you. It's about 107,000 in Canada. Let's average that out per square mile. So in the United States, you have about one active military member. It's about the ratio, let me know, we did the math, is 0.359. Okay, 0.359. We're talking about troops per square mile. Canada, 0.027. That means the United States has 13 times more troops per square mile. Do you understand that? Here's the thing. There have been nations that are very small and inconsequential, and they haven't been conquered. And there have been nations that are relatively large, but they haven't been conquered because they have a strong military or they don't really have a bunch of desirable resources. There has never been a nation as large as Canada, physically as desirable, that has not been conquered and is completely unprotected. Canada is the least defended modern country ever. Ever. And they want to talk tough. It's delusional. And here's something, we're going to get to the trade deficit too. If you watch this debate, you can copy paste it to anywhere else in the world. They have no cards to play. Just like the left doesn't have any cards to play. It's all bluster. The rest of the world right now is a toddler screaming before bedtime, but they're going to be put down. Figuratively, I'm not talking about nuking any place.
Like she was potentially. And by the way, if you're talking tough and you're talking about forming an alliance, why would you start with Denmark?
Right.
17,000 troops, no carriers, no nukes. You're basically bringing on another liability.
She's trying to lump people in to what she is thinking as a victim. Like, oh,
no,
they're threatening Denmark too. We didn't threaten
Put them
Denmark.
on the list. Put them at the bottom of the list.
Buy.
Put them at the bottom of the list and put France at the top. Can you imagine France is the top of your stronghold list?
Right. Nukes? Well, here's the other thing, too. They're talking about, okay, all right. Canada's not a good neighbor. Let me be clear to you about this. They're trying to say, I can't believe that Donald Trump would treat us this way when we are their most reliable neighbor. No, you're not. You're the kind of neighbor who just leaf blows into my yard and you know full well what you do.
Also, we have only 2.
Yes.
We have only 2, and the other one is having a siesta.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
The cartels could take out the Canada military.
Let me show you how bad of a neighbor Canada is. And by the way, this includes, this can be extended to pretty much the rest of the world. That's why we're fed up. Canada then starts discussing in this debate, and I believe that Trudeau also echoed this, that, you know what, we're a good neighbor. We're going to honor the contract of NATO and hit our target spending really soon.
Canada fully expects to reach NATO's 2% of GDP spending target by 2032.
Okay, so we're looking 2032? So you mean in almost a decade, you're going to start honoring the contract that always required you to do it? That's a good neighbor?
It takes time to get there.
And we have this clip somewhere, the euthanization clip. Do you have it regarding the Canadian military? Even if Canada was going to finally start...
It's an overlay.
It's an overlay? Yeah. Canada, by the way, they value their military so much that they would sooner euthanize troops, euthanize veterans, rather than pay for their care. We have an overlay. Oh, yeah, it's overlay 810 euthanize. That's part of their program there because they're loving and
Their
caring.
MAID program, do you remember that? Medically assisted?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know the rest of it, but either way, it's they kill you.
It's insane. No. Let's not give them therapy. You know, let's not give them medicine.
Yeah.
Let's just kill them.
Yeah.
I think medically assisted induced death.
Right.
Induced
death. The old suicide box.
Why do you have to be made like taking
enough
out the trash
veterans
and
are killing
cleaning up?
themselves. Why not we just do it ourselves?
Yeah. You know, that'll buy us some time as we hit our agreed upon contract of military spending by 2032.
I was wrong. It's medical assistance in dying.
There we go. We did have a video like when we covered the MAID program when they rolled that out like a year ago or something like that, or when they it was a vet who needed a wheelchair, I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
And they're like, they were like, they got the form that said, I need a wheelchair. And they said, have you considered killing yourself?
Yep.
And it's the brochure.
It's a whole problem. You got sometimes there's no ramps.
Yeah.
You gotta build your arm strength up, and you gotta get a special car. It sucks. Just die.
Yep. And they can't take them to the fireworks.
Yeah.
We don't have wheelchairs. Sorry.
Let me change.
All out.
And this is what Donald Trump has been pointing out with trade and with deficits in the United States being exploited. And I know it's really hard for people to understand that the United States has been exploited when we're, the wealthiest country in existence and the most powerful country in existence. So you kind of look past that. And the left always views champion as bad and underdog as good. That's why they support places like Palestine. That's why they support LGBT no matter what, regardless of morality, even when they start beating up women. That's how they view the world. Well, if you have less, you must be in the moral right. Okay. The United States has been exploited. Let me posit something here. Imagine if, instead of having never hit their agreed upon NATO spending, and the United States often hitting double, imagine if we lived in a world where Canada actually honored their agreements, like good neighbors. Think they still have the budget for socialized healthcare? Think they still have the budget for socialized media, the CBC, government propaganda media? Think a lot of those little niceties that they have, that they brag about, how Canada takes care of their citizens more than nice. Think that goes away? Let's take this. That happens, and then there's a global conflict where Canada has to defend itself. How much free crap do you think they can give their citizens? You remember the war effort, right? In World War II? We had to do that here in the United States. We had to ration coffee, for crying out loud. Just remember that when you have a socialist here say, why don't we do what other nations do, like Canada, like Sweden? Do they have to defend themselves? No? Well, then we're not going to allow them to exploit us economically while we pay for their defenses. Here's another claim that they make, and more proof that they are god-awful neighbors, but most importantly, delusional. Canada is going to hit President Trump where it hurts most on tariffs.
My first move is dollar for dollar retaliation. And let me be very clear with President Trump. If I am Prime Minister, I will not flinch. We will retaliate. If you hit us, we will hit back. We are going to have targeted retaliation that exerts maximum pain in the U.S. and does minimum harm to us. We're going to hit Trump's best friends. I will impose a 100% tariff on Teslas. I'm going to hit Wisconsin dairy. I'm going to hit Florida orange juice.
It's an emergency situation, and we've got to relook at our defense spending, where we're buying planes from the United States. We're buying all kinds of defense industry products from the United States. And you know what? We're going to put them on hold for now, and if this continues for a couple more weeks, we're going to cancel them.
Okay, here's the...
Said the same thing about their vets.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the truth, a lot to unpack here. Overlay A6. Canada's not even a top 25 purchaser for United States defense contracts. So we wouldn't even feel it. Morocco buys more.
What's that now? What is that? Is that a place?
What? Yeah, exactly. I think if you saw the movie Babel, Brad Pitt cries there, something like that.
Oh, it's Africa. Oh, okay.
Is that Happy Feet? No, that's Madagascar.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, close. We're going to hit the United States where it hurts, and they're going to really feel the purchasing power of number 26 through 31, depending on the year. Okay, let me give you some other uncomfortable truths here. They're delusional. Canada depends on the United States way more than we do on Canada. Okay? And this is not even taking into account the military defense, which is, by the way, a given. It's foundational for them. Mm-hmm. 2023, the United States, our exports to Canada are 1.3%. That's what it was, about 1.3% of GDP. For Canada, their exports to the United States, 20% of GDP. 20% of GDP. They are not even top 25 purchasers as it relates to planes or military wares. And this is why President Trump, this isn't just about Canada, they're just fun to point out. President Trump doesn't seem all that affected by it.
I've known many people who've lost children to fentanyl and for other reasons, but to fentanyl, it's such a big killer. And those people are never the same people. I mean, I've seen people that for the rest of their lives, they're not the same people. They're so different, it's not even believable. Dynamic people, happy people they die a miserable death. And that's because of the crap that comes in through China and through Mexico and through Canada. A lot of it comes through Canada. Look, we support Canada. $200 billion a year in subsidies one way or the other. We let them make millions of cars. We let them send us lumber. We don't need their lumber. We're going to free up our lumber. Lee's going to do the head of environmental.
We got a lot of it.
We're going to free up our lumber. We have the best lumber there is. We don't need their lumber. What do we need their lumber for? When you look at the
it's beechwood.
We subsidize them $200 billion a year. Without us, Canada can't make it. You know, Canada relies on us 95%. We rely on them 4%. Big difference. And I say Canada should be our 51st state. There's no tariffs, no nothing.
This is the way the United States should have been dealing with the world this entire time.
Yes.
You think, you ever travel abroad?
Ever since World War II, since we had to
yes.
fund that Reconstruction and everything.
Yep.
Yeah, certainly. You ever travel abroad? They'll go, you Americans are so arrogant. Well, we really haven't been, actually. But I think it's about time to be the cock of the walk. I'm fine with it.
We're so arrogant. You're what country? UK. The sun never set on the British Empire. Have you ever heard that saying before? Because you guys colonized and raped and pillaged, I guess.
No, we stole the sun.
Okay, and then
drowned it in the Boston Harbor.
Yeah, exactly. France, Spain. You guys were doing the exact same thing and trying to keep up with the Joneses with England. Like, go screw yourselves.
Yep. Here's another claim that they make, and they're reaching. Well, actually, no. The United States, and here's the thing: the left here will echo this. They're one and the same. And they're all delusional. They're all wrong and dishonest. The United States really needs Canadian energy.
Put them on notice on the broader aspects of our commercial relationship. We are their largest supplier of energy. We are their largest supplier of electricity. We are their largest supplier of uranium. I could go on, but I will exhaust all my time.
Okay, here's the truth. We don't need Canada. We don't need Canada for energy. Now, you can talk about crude and how they have the ability to refine it, to process it, but that's just because we decided it was more cost effective. We can build that up. Canada can't. Canada is screwed. Canada needs the United States. They need the United States. We're not just talking about energy, but they need us so they can export their energy. We do not need their energy. Since 2019, the United States has been a net energy exporter for the first time under Donald Trump. The first time, I believe, in our lifetime, if I'm not mistaken. We need to build some new refineries to refine our own oil in the United States. That would involve some growing pains. It's a slightly uncomfortable option. Canada has no options. None. It may seem like, why are you spending so much time on Canada? Well, we went through Medicaid and we went through the $17 million puppet show, so I think we diversified a little bit. But people don't really seem to grasp, or a lot of people to the left, that the United States has been exploited for a very, very long time, and there's no need for it to be the case. Canada is a microcosm of modern entitlement-minded socialist or socialist-light governments. They can only brag about their entitlements. They can only brag about their social safety nets as long as the United States foots the bill. And I don't just mean foots the bill as far as military and defending them, though that is most important. The more we look into U.S. aid, the more we look into a lot of the government bloat, the more that we see people benefiting who aren't even a part of this country. And that includes places like Canada. They sit and they brag about socialized health care and their euthanization program, or even in Germany, they'll brag about free internet being a human right and how does the United States have an awful blah, 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 insert whatever here. Look, they're delusional if they think that we need them more than they need us, but let's put a finer point on it, okay? All right, you like all that free stuff? Yeah, okay, the United States doesn't do it. Okay, we're going to change one thing. Rest of the world, protect your own countries, go. Don't demand that we subsidize your country and then bitch about how we subsidize it. That gravy train is over. And so this is all theater in Canada, just like most of what you hear going on at the UN, just like what most of you hear going on at NATO. If they want to discuss all of these solutions while they don't even spend their contracted amount, for example, in NATO. Look, you guys can do that. You guys can have your weekend getaways, and you guys can have your climate summits, and you can have your international agreements, and you can talk about how we reform the world. The only thing that we request is that you ask us first. Because Daddy decides how Daddy spends the money in this household. That's where you guys are, even if Canada's up in the attic. It's all so silly. Almost as silly as George W. Bush still investigating the disappearance of Waldo.
Ha! There he is. Laura, I told you I'd find him. You misunderestimated me.
What? That's a happy ending.
Yeah, he found him.
Yeah.
Look at that. He was hiding in a cave.
Yes. Well, it was a peppermint-themed cave.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's hard. You can't do that.
A good disguise.
I don't know how he keeps finding these peppermint-themed places.
Yeah, I didn't even know they existed.
Theme parks, forests,
beaches,
caves. Yeah.
Medieval battlegrounds.
Yeah. Guerrilla military training grounds. I don't even know why there's a peppermint military anywhere. This has been No Canada. Hey, if you're still watching, you can comment below or click this video playing in a box. Shut up. Shut up. You can tune in live weekdays, 10 a.m. Eastern, because that's the full show. Which you can say, shut.
I didn't say anything.
I know you didn't say anything. I could feel it. Click like.